Saturday. I am super excited to have my pal, Dr. Susan Blaskay, with us today. She's actually joining us from her lake house in Michigan. So thank you so much for interrupting your weekend of fun to be a part of this and to just inspire other chiropractors, other women, business owners, and even not business owners about doing life. So if we can, let's just start with how long have you been in practice and like do the highlights of the journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we'll get into more details.
All right. Well, honey, I've been in practice over 27 years on my own. I came out of Life Chiropractic College in 1988 and knew that I had to associate, in order to be successful. I came out $85,000 in debt, which is now standards nowadays, it's a nothing. But at that time, it was a lot, and I worked my way through college. But and I was a CA. I was a CA for 5 years, an office manager, and I knew how to do all the billing and knew how to make all the calls, knew how to build a practice. So I worked for a gentleman who, was 100, per day plus practitioner. So I learned from the best. Went to school, but I still didn't think that I could, I wanted to practice on somebody else's patients and learn everything because I need to learn what happened in that room, and in school you learn all the basics, but you need to know the whole package. So I went and worked for him for a year as an associate, and then I picked out another successful chiropractor who practiced the way I wanted to practice, went and worked for him for a year. And then when I could, build that up and hit 100 per day on my own, then I was ready to sign that loan document, right? Because at that time, they weren't passing out money. You had to, kick and scream, and the only reason I got that loan being of, negative net worth was she's like, Susan, she goes, I think you have what it takes. And it's all about how you present yourself. You with me?
Yes.
Because, we were just in hock. And so I started my practice with it was my portable table from school, a typewriter, no telephone. I had an office that worked, I'm saying it had electricity, but that was it. It was on Valentine's Day in 1990. What a great day to have an anniversary. So every year we celebrate that. So we set up a Valentine Christmas tree and, and celebrate. That's when we do our patient appreciation. So it's neat because you get to share the love on that day.
Yeah.
The love of chiropractic. So I wasn't married at the time. And then a year later, I did get married. And then immediately, we got pregnant. So William was my honeymoon child. So 9 months later, I got the present of William. And then within 3 months, I was pregnant again. And the following year, I had Amanda. So my children because Amanda came a month early, so they're 13 months apart. You might as well have twins. And the interesting thing is people say, how do you do that? How do you do that? It's like, your hands must be full. It's like, no, that's all you've ever known. You would know. And it was great.
Yeah.
It was great because they were so close in age that, that's all you knew was diapers. It's not like you didn't have diapers and formula and then have it put away for a while and then take it back out and then it seems worse. I loved having the kids. Well, Dr. Cindy is a good one to tell you about that.
Yeah. 7.
But anyway, yes, 7 children. So at the time we lived in Livonia and my practice was in Livonia. And needless to say, in that month starting on a wing and a prayer, we couldn't borrow money then either because I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So we got $35,000 from the bank, like I said, on a wing and a prayer. But the credit union at the time, you had to be a member for 2 years in order to borrow money. So at the Chiropractic Federal Credit Union, we're prompting everybody to become members now while you're in school. So that way you have borrowing power later on because
good idea.
They support chiropractic. But anyhow, so then you leased your x-ray equipment and then equipment started coming in. But nonetheless, my first day, in practice, I saw 25 people.
Wow.
The community first. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Really gangbuster. But so the practice built and, adjusted, pregnant and sick, morning sickness and lay down between patients, get up, you pour it on in that room for those 3 minutes, you go back to your office and do what you got to do.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yes. And then as a sole practitioner, what I did was when I was on maternity leave, I always made sure I hired, an associate. Yeah, bring somebody in. I never took sick days off. I figured if I felt kind of punky, I'm going to show up to work. And because all my time off, I wanted to, dedicate toward my family.
Yeah.
So it really kind of honed things in regarding, seminars, and relicensure things. I had to go to things that, because I really wanted to save my time for family time. So as a woman, um, I was very particular. It had to be something close, had to be on a weekend. I really didn't want to miss work because, you know, of those obligations you feel. I became a chiropractor because I wanted to raise my children. I didn't want somebody else. I didn't want, the choice of becoming like a medical doctor or MD or a, DO or a chiropractor. Chiropractic was so lovely. It fit into what I wanted, everything out of a business. And plus we have like a 98% success rate. But, as an MD though, I have, because when you're in pre-med, everybody's like, well, how do you know you want to be this kind of doctor? How do how do you know? I'm like, well, I became the EMT and I stopped working for the chiropractor and, worked over at the hospital, as a nurse's aide. And then I was absolutely sure, because all those doctors, they lived and breathed their business. And even though we do as well, I get to enjoy my family and I get to go home and I don't get beeped out of their ball games, or,
yeah,
I can arrange my schedule by bringing other people in. So I never left, even though, we were kind of dirt poor, starting out in business. I always made sure somebody has to be there, because the patient's care plan has to be, as important to you as it is to them. You can't say, well, you're going on vacation, make up this appointment, and then you just leave and shut down your practice. I just don't think it's a smart idea. So I always brought in a sub. And because I had to have C-sections, it turned out that, I was out of work for a long time, 8 weeks in order to heal, because I do full spine, adjusting. I do side posture. I do the big deal.
That's right.
And I'm 56 years old and I'm still doing the big deal.
That's awesome.
Yes, I'm excited. But anyways, regarding the full spine adjusting and hiring people, so that way every time I took a vacation, I make sure I did. And then 10 years in, once I got to the point where my practice was busy enough and I have basically accomplished all of my dreams, everything that I wanted, then I brought an associate and backed off on my days to the Monday, Wednesday, Friday deal, as opposed to, but before I worked Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from like 9 to 12 and then 3 to 6:30. And then Tuesday I'd work 3 to 6:30, and then Saturday 9 to, it used to be 1, and then I had this lull of time. So we just crunched it down around 9 to 12. And it was still, even though I drove an hour out here to the lake every day, for a couple of years, I still had enough family time, in my opinion. It lasted a year longer than it was supposed to while we were building that house, but, things don't always work out the way we plan now, do they?
Best laid plans,
that house that was
good intention.
That house was supposed to take 9 months, ended up taking 2.5 years, and almost lost it. And oh my goodness, at the same time, that's when we found out that William was autistic, and I took him to the autistic school in St. Louis. It's called Judavine. And I did a 3-week intensive program to learn how to teach him. And it was the most valuable thing I ever did, because then I came home empowered. And because, we're the parents, we're the people that they spend the most time with, and we're the people that know him and watch all his habits. So then I went, when we did all the special needs classes, when we moved to Ann Arbor, I taught all the aides and everybody what to do and what his triggers were and how to help him. And we developed all those IEP plans together. And he turned out to be this crazy great success story. But it's time in. It's time in. And it's with all problems, because, and that's why I love this organization, is that, as a young doctor, I was so disconnected, because it was just work, family, my business, family, my my little seminar here, seminar there. And I got to know people in the Michigan Association of Chiropractors by always being there, and the little hello. And eventually, relationships have built at this little 2-time-a-year meeting. But the great thing is that life hits us hard. As women, we're faced with different challenges, because we have the pressure of, we are earning this income and taking care of the husband and making sure that he's happy and, gets a wife, not just the doctor, not just the mom, not just the housekeeper, but the wife. Right. So you have to be well dated, right? You have to be well dated. And then your children have to be loved up. They have to have time in. They have to feel important. And then to have, not one, but then when we moved to Ann Arbor, the kindergarten teacher for my daughter, and we just moved there, and she says, Mrs. Dionker, she says, you have to have your child evaluated. She says, because something is wrong, with Amanda. I'm not quite sure. And oh, exactly. I'm like, no, this is my normal child.
Yeah.
This is my normal child. And no, you can't. You know what I'm saying? I just got on board with William and all the at-home social stories and all the things, the visual things we had to do. It was crazy. That's other things I'll share later. But you just get up and you do it, and you do it, and you get up earlier. And you just basically don't think about your own feelings, because if you just get up and rise up and start and do, by the end of the day, you feel so uplifted and so accomplished. And then steady to the wheel, year by year by year, and to see, who would have ever thought that 25 years later, my son is the celebrity spokesperson for chiropractic as the #1 artistic full trick shot in the world, right?
I know that. So you went through that way too fast. Let's talk again at what Will's doing. So he was diagnosed at 3, right, with being autistic.
4 years old. Yeah, 4 years old.
And then you went and learned yourself, how can I be his best support and help him? And Susan, slow down again and tell me, where was it? Is it still in operation? If a parent isn't aware of that, what suggestions do you have, and how did that make life better for Will and your whole family, because you went and trained? And this is kind of what Amy Spolstra does in Coeur d'Alene, but go ahead and talk about that.
Yes, it was wonderful. And it was called Judavine School for Autistic Children.
Okay.
And they have 2 different programs, a program for high functioning autistic and the more severe. But it was fascinating because when I went down there, they give you courses through the day, which all those things you learn in psychology that everybody did really, really well in. They applied all those positive behavioral techniques, those positive reinforcement techniques, in order to help your child. So what they did was, we had class, and then they put your child in this little classroom, this little room with a double mirror that we could see. And they taught us to watch him with the social worker. And so he would be behind the table, and she would try to get him to do tasks, to say, 3-word phrases and to add a word. So she'd coax him by, giving him little candy rewards. So we had all these little things like, if you do this, then you'll get this. And then she'd redirect and redirect and redirect. So they taught you to analyze this, because they can't communicate. And that's why they get frustrated and act out. So they taught us to watch, their behavior, not only what happened, but pay attention to think back to what happened before. And then that's the real issue, and trace all back. And then we had to have this like plethora of solutions. We had 6 different things. Well, then we're going to try this. We're going to try this positive reinforcement technique. If that didn't work, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to give you an example of what I brought back. So I was always a mom that, I take my kids to real life situations. I don't get a babysitter to go shopping. Grocery shopping is part of life. I didn't take when I was personally clothes shopping, because nobody wants to do that. but to take them into the grocery store, I had Amanda, in the buggy, and this is right after we got home. So we're trying to check out. It's a Saturday, afternoon, because that's when I had time. So she's in the buggy, and William's next to me, and I'm, paying, and somebody in the main aisle, where people are exiting, says, "Excuse me, ma'am, could you do something about your child? He's laying in the floor on the middle of everybody's trying to push their buggies out of the store." And so everybody's kind of mortified, like, are you not in control of your child? So I looked over at him, and I grabbed a box of cereal out of the buggy and just handed it to him, continued to write my check. He got up, he stopped his little fit, looked at the box, got up, kind of came and stood by me, and everybody just was in shock, absolute shock, because it was you just had to turn the page.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. It's you don't pay attention to what it is, because they're just frustrated. They can't tell you that he was done. He was tired of grocery shopping.
Yeah.
He wanted to leave, and he was letting me know. And I'm like, oh, but we've got this. Great,
have you seen the cereal?
That they teach you. Yes, but because typically, parents would just, get so upset, like, I don't know how to manage my child. My child's out of control. We can't go to eat. We can't do this. We can't do that. But they teach you all these skills to manage the child, in a positive way. And so then I brought that home to all the teachers, because it turns out that in the public school program, they're really just regular moms that show up and get this job. And then they have these little, little training sessions, but nobody's really particularly trained on how to, they get all this state funding, but nobody is really trained. Everybody should have this class, because what I thought is they should bring it into high schools, because it's basically great parenting. It applies to everybody.
I was just thinking it must make you a better doctor, right? Because in order to observe your child, to be that present time conscious, in order to look at nuances, right? And to pick up on all of, so obviously our intuition is our ability to pick up on the vibrational frequency of others. And as women, we have greater intuition than men. And so when we're evaluating a practice member, whether it's on visit 1 or visit whatever, we're pulling in all of that stuff. And so as a mom being taught how to do those things, I would have to believe that it makes you a better doctor, because you're picking up on all of those things. And then you've already been coached in your mind that, there's 6 solutions. There isn't one, and let's find the one that works the best for this individual at this moment, which may be different later on.
I really didn't think about it, but you're exactly right. You are absolutely exactly right, because we catch so many things in our office that patients, family physicians overlook. And I thought it was because, we see them more frequently, but no, I really think that as women, we're just better listeners, period.
Or just watch it all.
We don't let, yes. And we don't have people say 2 sentences, cut them off, because we've already jumped to a conclusion of what's wrong with them.
Yes.
And that's what we miss. We actually take the time, but I'm careful because I'm a high volume practitioner. So I make sure that I listen, but I curtail their conversation to what's important. And that's important, to not let people carry on because it absorbs, time.
Yeah.
So.
And Susan brings up a great point there about, in the boot camp, I teach a lot about sales and communication. One of the biggest things that's going to shut off your sales is don't interrupt. I think it's easy to have the habit, which can be broken, of listening to respond instead of listening to listen, right? I'm only listening for enough so I can come back with something, versus I'm listening in order to process and then to present something the same or something different. And so I would think, as learning that and being coached to do that for Will, just watch all of these things, and then sit back and process, and then decide which is the best way. That sounds like you said, it'd be great in high school, is just because obviously those kids in high school are eventually going to be parents, and it would be great for them. So let's talk for a couple minutes about, so you and I are on the same page about we don't have to be led around by our feelings. And if you're led around by your feelings, you're probably going to have sad days, a lot of days. And I think you're as happy as you make up your mind to be, right? How have you ever heard, because sometimes I get this, someone say, well, I'm just not that person. I'm an emotional person, and I just don't think that it's being real if you don't, I don't know, listen to your feelings. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, it's malarkey. Because we have the power to make ourselves happy, to make ourselves sad. We just don't have time for that, because happiness is contagious. And it's healing. People want to go to some place, that they're going to be uplifted. It will help build your practice and build your life. You want to be happy in your life. Be happy in your life.
There you go. I love that.
There are so many things, because bad things happen to people all the time, and we just can't use those things as a crutch. They help build who you are, and it gives you knowledge. And you know what that knowledge is for? To help others, to save them a little bit, so you have an understanding, so you can save them a couple steps. Maybe they won't make the exact same mistake that you did, but it makes you of service. And I've been through so many things. I want to talk to you at some juncture on another time about the stay-at-home dad. I would like to talk to you about that, because I've been through a lot of different things. And, as a woman business owner and a successful business owner for, 27 years, I've learned a lot about about what to do in that regard. It seems handy at the time, isn't handy, 20 years later.
That would be a great, well, I'm
people.
definitely going to write that one down, because I totally agree with you. God made men and women different. And I think to artificially try to change those, it creates problems that we go into it with the best intentions, and it all seems good on paper and it all seems good when talking, but playing it out isn't so favorable on many levels. So let's talk about, you said take action at the end of the day, you're happy. I just recently posted a lot about that, about taking action, enjoy the emotion from your action versus waiting for that emotion to hit you to take action. So let's talk specifically though about being a mom to special needs kids on like the craziest day when you're trying to get them out the door, you have patience, then you run just like normal life. How do you handle all of that chaos and still have that beautiful smile on your face? What are your tricks?
Darling, you just rise above it. It's really not a trick. It's, we have obligations. We can't roll over and just close our eyes. It's like you wake up and no, yeah, you're not in the best mood. No, you have this big, huge day. You prepare. You prepare the night before. You do everything that you can, and then just plow through it. I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. No, it was earlier than that because I had to be out of the door here at 7 with my children all packed up, dropped them off on the way to Livonia at the childcare, because my husband, who worked at home, said that, it was, I was driving that way anyway. So it was better that I drop them off and get them up and get them ready. And then drive another hour and 15
that doesn't make sense.
And drive another hour, 15 minutes, to the office. And regardless of, and it still happens today, which is really crazy great to me, is that, even if I'm feeling kind of under the weather, or, I'm not prepared for the day, or I'm a little bit tired, or I've got a lot of things going on, or I've got a lot of problems and I'm not quite on, something happens in that drive to work where, my thought gets into my day, my thought gets into my patients, how many lives I'm going to touch, what a great impact, who's going to come in with that long-term problem. And, I'm going to change their life, change their future. And the minute I walk into that first room, it's a total turnaround.
That's right.
And I kind of equate it like to working out. You know how people are like, oh, I don't feel like working out. Well, I would always go and work out. I'm like, this is how I convince myself. I'm like, I get up, get dressed. I'm going to go to the gym. And if in 5 minutes I don't feel like working out, I'll allow myself to turn around, pack up, and go home. And you know what? Once you're there, you never do.
That's right.
It just gets turned on. You get all ramped up, and the same thing happens just in life. You just get up. The first thing you got to do is get out of bed. And that was the interesting thing too about the divorce. I went to divorce, like the counseling club or whatever, because it was so sad. It was so sad. And just to try to get out of bed and go and turn it on to go to the office. But if I didn't, I was going to lose my entire financial future and the financial future of my children. But it took everything that I possibly had. So I thought, well, I'm going to go to church and go to this, counseling for that. And it was interesting to me because, I was talking about the strategies that I was using. And I was really in this weak time, but it didn't seem like that to those people. But there were so many people that were, I'm not kidding, they were just staying in bed and like, well, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to let my husband do this because he's always done this. I'm like, if you do those things, you're just going to get eaten alive. You have to be proactive. You have to make yourself get up. This is the rest of your life. If you don't get up now and stand up for yourself, there's no going back. There is no going back. So regardless of what is going on in your life, you get up and you do. Hectic days, not hectic days, they all turn out at the end of the day just lovely, and you're so proud of yourself.
That's right.
Because you did it, and you did
it
well.
That's
did
right.
It well. So
I can remember
really don't have particular. I don't really.
Well, and I think it's just that determination of. I can remember being on
determination and mindset.
Yeah, and something else that every time I talk with you that is really apparent, and I think this is true with highly successful people, is they're other focused, right? So that you said on the drive in, it could just be, chaotic when when you and William and Amanda left and you dropped them off, and then you start thinking about the lives that you're going to change and the impact that you're going to have and the futures that will be different because those individuals came into your office. So instead of just like, I think anyone gets depressed if the only person they think about is themselves, right? Because then all we look at is, well, this isn't quite right and this isn't quite right because it's all about me. And honestly, I think that's part of the problem with parenting today is the child-centered home. Everything cannot be about your kids. The world doesn't revolve around your children. Make sure that you teach them that they're part of the unit, but they are not the only unit because it's too much responsibility. And I often relate it to, can you ever remember dating that guy that made like his whole life about you? And you're like, oh, like this is like too much. I don't want to be your happiness. I don't want to make your decisions. Like, no, you have a life, I have a life, and then we come together. It's too much. Yeah. And I think oftentimes when parents like have kids make their own decisions when they're too young to do so, or everything, well, Johnny, what will make you happy? And how do you feel? Like Johnny doesn't know. Just get him redirected with a box of cereal, right? Like,
exactly.
Here's your treat. Let's go. So let's talk too about like, in looking back and raising William and Amanda, and say again, what William is the spokesperson for chiropractic, and he is the world's reigning champion on trick pool.
Yes.
Is that right?
He has a website called gentlemanpool.com, but a lot of his YouTube videos can be found at Will DeAnker.
Gentleman.
Will DeAnker.
And it's gentleman, like a singular?
Yes.
Gentleman pool? Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's talk about like what, in raising now, how old is Will?
He's 25.
And Amanda's then 24, right?
Yes.
So what are the keys to now having a 25 and a 24-year-old, special needs kids who are doing their thing? Like they're not still like hanging on mom. You raise them to be independent, to have his own thing. Like who goes into trick pool? Right?
Exactly.
Like it's something that he decided. Tell us because I know that there are several either watching now or will be watching. And one of the reasons they're watching is because they want to learn more about how to, help their kids who have special needs.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing is about the autistic child is that they get fascinated and fixated on things. He went through a golf where he watched golf on TV, and it's in the hole. Anything that they're kinetic, the kinetic spinning things they absolutely loved. Trains and train sets. We had all those. Then we went from that to the Lego sets that he get the Lego roller coaster, one of those 2,000 piece things for Christmas, and then in a 12-hour stint, put the whole thing together, call us up at 11:30 at night and say, come see my roller coaster. Watch how he just did it all in one full swoop. Crazy, absolutely crazy. But, so he went through all these different phases then he would do these kinetic models where he'd put them all together and then the ball would roll and stuff this and this. And then so we brought pieces and added to that. And I always had a pool table in a room, but he never really, Bill never played with the children. So it just kind of sat there unless we had a party or something. And then one day, William, when he was about 15, he saw Trick Shot Magic on ESPN and said, well, that looks cool, So we have a pool table. So he went up there and started goofing around. Well, that led to, calling us up. Come on, come watch my show, right? So he would, try to emulate these shots. It'd take him 20 times. I have to watch somebody miss a shot 20 times and watch this entire show an hour and a half later. But it was fabulous because as time went on, over 2 years, because he'd go up there and play a couple hours every day once he got hooked on it. And the cool thing is he got hooked on something that turned into something, So after 2 hours a day, then guess what? It no longer took him 20 shots. Then it was, 10, then 8,
yeah,
6. You with me? So after a couple of years, I'm like, well, why don't you start creating your own shots like, they're doing it.
Nice.
And it's the amount of shots that he's memorized, and it's all geometry.
So,
Oh.
and because, and I just watched a special recently, and because of the way autistic kids see an area, he just doesn't look at the one ball going. He sees the whole table all together, the action of everything at the same time. Isn't that fascinating? But that's what makes him excel. Because there's another autistic boy who I just watched. He's in Canada, and he is the #1 reigning pinball wizard.
Oh.
Because he can beat everybody and that's what a neurologist analyzed him, and that's what gave him that edge. Isn't that crazy?
That's
awesome.
Love it.
But with William, after practicing 1 year, it was his first year in college, I think. So he was about 19, and for Christmas, and he was just getting where he was better socially and things like that. Cause it's been a long road to this big, successful end. So for Christmas, he wanted to go to an unranked event.
Right.
No.
You mean you didn't start here?
No. But who would have thought? Just that it would come to this. But so for Christmas, he wanted to go to an unranked event in Florida. So I said, well, okay, that's what he wanted as a present. And I said, okay, we're going to fly out, and we're going to enter into this tournament and see how he does, because we knew how he did at home, but that's in front of friends and family. Well, what if he's under pressure? What if somebody else is watching? What if he has to do it this way?
Right.
He might react differently. He might get tense. And then they do their little acting out thing. But we took him down there, and that's when, and it was interesting because he had been, Facebook friends with these people for a long time. So they all kind of knew who he was. And then he came and started shooting, and they just absolutely could not believe it. He won at his first event. He got high score in certain types of shots. So he walked away with a few medals, and then they invited him. They do a show for, all the local people, because it's always at this like pool hall kind of place. And so they put on a show, and they invited him to do some shots in the show. And of course, he looked all cute. I'll share pictures and things with you later. And so once he went to that unranked event, so he was 19. So the next year when he turned 20, in July, we went to Vegas, and that was his first ranked event where, it's big time. It's at a casino, and it's with all the other it's segregated, but it's with all the other pool tournaments going on, the big 8-ball tournaments.
Oh, okay.
So he's in there, and the boy came in sixth place. It was the big upset. They couldn't believe it. And then they almost thought like it was a fluke. They thought it was a fluke until he kept coming back, because then as he learned how it worked, and watched, and he got better. And within 2.5 years, actually it was only 2 years from the time he started with a ranked event that he became #1. Nobody's ever done that. He was the youngest one, and he's autistic.
That is so awesome. So do you foster that?
I'm sorry.
Do you just foster that because you allow the repetition? Like you don't like as his mom, whatever he's fixated on, just let it go. Like how? I mean, because a non-artistic person, they're probably not going to spend 12 hours from start to finish building a Lego set, right? Or working on their pool, like working on something that with that intensity for 3 hours, like in my opinion, those are like the elite athletes or something like that. So it's interesting that their neurology in terms of ability to focus is really so far superior to, for sure, the normal population, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But what we can take away from that is that's what it takes to be successful, right? You have to put your time in.
You got to put your time in.
Everybody says, don't work harder, work smarter. Well, you have to work smart and hard. You don't show up to your office and just sit there and wait for people to come in. You always have to be thinking. You always have to be outside of the box. You always have to be on. You have to work at it. You have to absolutely work at it, and you have to keep recreating yourself. See what's working. See what's trending. Listen to patients. See what they're looking for. But over this period of time, we were kind of sold something different in school than what has happened now with insurance companies and things. So back then it was like, well, you only have to get new patients for a particular period of time, and then you're going to have so many people that just come in for maintenance care, health care, because they've gotten it and you've educated them well. Well, insurance companies are like, well, we don't pay for maintenance care.
Right.
So it was interesting, the whole twist of things, through the years. It's interesting too that we started out as, in my class, it was women chiropractors were 3 to 5% of the school population, and
Yeah.
and now to be more than half, it's just unbelievable. But
yeah. That's super exciting. And so do Will and Amanda live with you still, or are they on their own?
No. William is in Colorado right now. He's in Aspen. He just graduated from Madonna University with high honors.
Wow.
He did that in May. And then the place that he did internship last year wanted him back for the summer. And he didn't have a summer, he didn't have a job lined up. And we all agreed that it would look really good on his resume to go back and take this job, with his internship. So they're writing him letters and things now. And the great thing was that he was working for a filmmaker in Colorado who had this job at this autistic camp called Asyndigo. So he thought it would be a good idea to have William, go and do GoPro videos there and edit, the campers' videos, because what they do is they video all their campers for these special needs children, these autistic children, and most of them are lower functioning. But they take them out and take them horseback riding and tubing and, camping and all these wonderful things with aids. And William takes the video footage and creates, videos for the campers, so they send them home to the parents so the parents can see what their child did.
Oh, nice.
So it's wonderful, wonderful. So they brought William back and they said, because last year when he worked as an intern for this other company, they said it was the best footage they've ever seen. It's his gift. Which is wonderful, because considering he's not supposed to have that as an autistic child to see, because they were disconnected to emotions, to people's, their facial expression. And it's just such a huge testimony to how far he's come.
Yeah.
That film editing is his forte. So now he's there this summer, and they're like, we definitely want him back next summer, but, hopefully he'll have another job here at home. So he'll be home here probably for a little bit coming up soon. In fact, that's why we're at the lake house today, because, it's my only free weekend before his graduation party, on the 19th, because the weekend before we're at Palmer.
Yay! Yeah, let's talk about that for a second.
I'm so excited about that.
So August, for those of you who haven't made plans yet, Palmer's Homecoming, which is August the 10th through the 12th. On Thursday, August the 10th, it kicks off with a special 2-hour CE credits for women chiropractors only. It's the first time ever. And we're going to talk about the amazing balancing act of the female chiropractor. Then after that, we have a private reception at the Black Hawk. Again, women chiropractors and female students only, so that we can all meet one another and talk and get to know each other further. And then we'll be there all weekend. So there's lots of great events just for Palmer. Palmer events, but especially for women chiropractors. And Dr. Susan and I are both on the Women Chiropractors board. And so we've been working super diligently to try and make this a community for women chiropractors and female students. So it's not CAs, it's not spouses. It's you must be either a female chiropractor or a female student. So, and do you get in on Thursday, or do you come in on Wednesday?
Oh, I'm going to fly in on Thursday. Okay. Early though.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have, I start at 7 a.m. and finally get there at 9 p.m.
Yes, but I'm so excited. It'll be so worth your while. It's so worthwhile. I'm so happy to be part of this group. It is so necessary. Because people, I had nobody to ask when I was a young woman doctor. I had male friends, but certainly, that was just business questions. They really didn't live my life. Their life was charmed compared to mine as far as I was concerned. But I'm saying as far as, being easier, but, oh my gosh, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Absolutely.
I've had it all, man. I've had it all. And I'm just, how many people can say that all their wildest dreams have come true?
Absolutely.
It's not necessarily
at only
the
56.
way. I know. What's next?
We got 50 more coming.
I can't wait. Yes,
for sure. And a newlywed.
Yes,
and
I
then
am.
newlywed in May.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That's
The most
awesome.
beautiful man in the world. Who would ever think? I would have never thought through my darkest hour, because honestly, I've been through many, many hard times, but that divorce like to have killed me.
Yeah.
Like to have killed me. I had no idea. I had no idea. I have a new respect for people that have gone through divorce now. Those words, it's completely different. But to have my darkest hour turn into be my brightest light and my true silver lining, that on the back half of my life, I get to fill in everything that piece that was missing.
Nice.
That piece
Yeah.
that was missing. I'm just so thrilled to actually have a true partner in my life now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so
Hey,
thrilled.
so when you guys were all on that trip and he proposed, did you know he was going to propose? Because I kept getting updates from Cindy and Amanda of like, he still hasn't done it. We're going to kill him. He still hasn't. Did you know it was coming?
No, it was absolutely crazy. I absolutely had no idea.
Oh.
And then it was so cute afterward, because Dana said that Dr. Amanda said, she pulled him aside and said, Dana, for the love of God, could you please propose while I still have something decent to wear that I still fit in? Yeah, the Viking cruise was very, very good to our waistline.
Yeah. What an incredible trip that was for all of you.
It was a dream trip.
Yeah.
We all had met. It was interesting because, like I said, we're actually relatively new friends, because and we decided to do this. We all had met and said, hey, we are, close, live close by each other. Our offices are near each other. Let's start having lunch. So we started having lunch once a month, and then the relationship built and built and built. And within a year, we're saying, I always wanted to do this. Well, so did I. And so we planned that Viking, river trip, from Paris to Prague. Well, it was through Germany, but we toured in Paris and then toured separately in Prague. And to have that, this dream that we all had, shared in common, and to do those things together with our husbands. Oh, it was so wonderful. Well, he wasn't my husband, but he is now.
You got him. Good job. That's a really good point of, and maybe that's something that we can help spur along through women chiropractors is like, women meeting for lunch. For me, I'd rather like women meeting for a hike, women chiropractors or whatever. And then exactly that, explore your dreams, whether you're a single female chiropractor or you're married, to unite up, because I think it is fun to do things in partnership with like-minded individuals and to build those relationships. Obviously, we all know that you are the combination of the 5 people you hang out the most with. And if your other friends or maybe family members, either aren't entrepreneurs or don't make the income level that you have, or aren't obsessed with entrepreneurialism and growth, personal growth. And sometimes we can get in this pool over here and kind of feel like I'm the only one. And then the threat, or the most common thing, is then that person changes, or this woman chiropractor changes to balance out that group, where if she's getting together with other high achieving women in her area, it increases her vibrational frequency. And who knows, maybe she'll be doing Paris to Prague with a stop at Louis Vuitton.
Expensive, but worth it. Yeah. we were Kardashian for a little bit. It was a wonderful, wonderful time. But you know what? Those lunchtime meetings led to this.
Yeah.
This is where we are now, and we realized that no, there's something missing. We needed to have our own private group where we could share privately, because we could share things at that lunch that we couldn't share in any other forum. And Women Chiropractors was born.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. Super cool. All right. So any last minute words to individuals who are watching now or will watch it later?
Oh, I just want to say to everybody, you go, girl.
That's right. You go, girl.
You go, girl. There's an answer for everything. You just don't hesitate to ask. We are here, that public forum, that Facebook forum. I love it, because everybody is sharing. There's an answer to every question. You're not alone. You're not alone anymore.
Yeah.
There's people that understand, people that can help, people that have been through it. If we've not, we will find somebody that can help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, stay up, stay happy. heal everybody, and touch everybody's lives in a positive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it'll all come back to you.
Yes, it does, in huge ways. And join us. Do whatever you have to do to join us at Palmer's Homecoming, August the 10th through the 12th. We would love to see you. And Dr. Susan, I would love to give each of you a hug. If you want to pull us aside and ask us things privately, we're more than happy to make time for you. The entire Women Chiropractors Board will be there. So that's what, nine of us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all 9 of us will be there.
We're working on Life Homecoming as well. Dr. Amanda and I will be there as well. So we'll talk about that at another time as well.
Okay, awesome. All right, love you, girl. Have a great day.
All right, love you. Bless you. Bye.
Bye.